What if I told you that an entire universe of meaning could be packed inside just one thing? Well, today, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're diving deep into the secrets of a single ancient Hebrew letter. This right here is the letter Het. Now, it's a bit of a tricky one to say. The sound has to come from the back of your throat. And if you look at its ancient form, its pictograph, it's pretty simple. It's a picture of a wall, or maybe a fence, a barrier. But believe me, it is so much more than that. So that's the big question, isn't it? How can one simple character possibly represent a wall, a new beginning, and the very secret to life? That's what we're going to unpack, layer by layer. And I think what we find is going to absolutely surprise you. Okay, so first up, let's just talk numbers. Het is the 8th letter of the Hebrew alphabet. And in the Bible, the number 8 is huge. Time and time again, it points to a new start, a completely fresh beginning. Just think about Noah's Ark for a second. The whole world is washed clean by the flood, and how many people are left to start all over again? Yep, you guessed it, 8. Noah, his wife, their 3 sons, and their wives. They were, quite literally, the new beginning for all of humanity. And this isn't a one-off thing. The pattern keeps showing up. The covenant of circumcision, the ceremony that brings a baby boy into the community of Israel, it happens on a very specific day. Not the 7th, the day of rest, but the 8th day of life. It marks a new life, a new beginning inside the covenant. And hey, it's not just in ancient texts either. Think about something as universal as music. You have 7 notes in a scale: do, re, mi, fa, so, la, ti. And what comes next? The 8th note is do again, but it's the start of a whole new, higher octave. It's another new beginning, just on a higher level. Okay, so we've got 8 as this powerful number of new beginnings. But what in the world does that have to do with the letter's original picture of a wall? Well, it turns out these two ideas are deeply, deeply connected. Let's go all the way back to that very first Passover in Egypt. The Israelites were given this very specific command to save their firstborn sons from the final plague. They had to mark their doors with the blood of a lamb, but this is where it gets wild. Just picture it. Blood on the left doorpost, blood on the right doorpost, and blood on the lintel across the top. What shape does that make? It forms a perfect het. It was a divine barrier, a wall of protection that the angel of death would literally pass over. And you see this same idea of a protective structure pop up in the Jewish wedding canopy, the chuppah. The word chuppah actually begins with the letter het, and it symbolizes the brand new home that the couple is building, a space of divine protection for their new beginning together. So we have het as a new beginning and a protective wall. But we're about to peel back another layer, because the letter's precise shape also works like a secret code embedded right into the Hebrew language, a code that makes a huge distinction between life and sin. This is where you have to look really closely. Take the Hebrew word for matzah, that's the unleavened bread they eat at Passover. It uses the letter he, and you can see it has a small opening on the side. Now, look at the word for chametz, that's leavened bread, which is a symbol for sin. It looks almost identical, but it uses our letter, het, which is completely closed off. So just think about what that's saying. The symbolic difference between purity and corruption, between life and sin, it all comes down to that tiny, tiny little opening in a letter. It's either a way out or it's a closed wall. And this distinction is so critical that it's actually baked, pun intended, right into Jewish law. For dough to be considered matzah, it has to be mixed and put in the oven in under 18 minutes. If you wait any longer, the natural yeast starts to work and it becomes forbidden chametz. But why 18 minutes? What is so special about that number? Well, the reason is just incredible. The Hebrew word for life is chai, and it's made of 2 letters, yud, which has a value of 10, and our letter het, which has a value of 8. You add them together, and you get 18. The time limit to make the bread of life is the exact numerical value of the word life itself. Okay, hang on, because this brings us to our final layer of meaning. And honestly, it's the deepest one of all. We're about to see how hen connects to the very fabric of creation itself through the mystical practice of Hebrew numerology called gematria. All right, get this. In Hebrew, you take the word for serpent, nahash, and you take the word for Messiah, Mashiach. These are 2 polar opposite forces, right? Yet, when you add up the numerical value of their letters, they both equal exactly 358. And of course, you'll notice both words contain the letter het. But the rabbit hole goes even deeper. Let's bring in one more crucial word that starts with het, hakma. It's the Hebrew word for wisdom, and its numerical value, its gematria, is 73. Now remember that number, 73. It's about to become very, very important. Now for a little bit of sacred math. The ordinate value of that word, hakma, which is a different calculation based on where the letters fall in the alphabet, is 37. So if you take that value, 37, and multiply it by its gematria value, 73, you get the number 2701. And here is the jaw-dropping conclusion. What else has a numerical value of 2701? The very first verse of the entire Bible. The 7 Hebrew words of Genesis 1:1, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth," add up to exactly 2701. So what does this all mean? It means the mathematical signature of wisdom, a word that starts with het, is literally encoded into the verse describing creation. It's suggesting that the world wasn't just made by power. It was established through a divine blueprint of profound wisdom. So we've gone from a number for new beginnings to a wall of protection, to the code of life, and all the way to the wisdom of creation itself. All of that meaning, all of that depth, is layered inside just one single character. It just makes you wonder, if one letter can hold all of this, what other secrets are out there, hiding in plain sight?